Hey everyone, welcome back for a little TLC. Today we're going to be talking about one command that I think we often forget about altogether, and that is the command to rest. It can be very easy for us to value productivity and busyness, and a lot of times we get caught up in work or school or families or even church. We forget about the command to rest. We forget to take time for ourselves and to just sit before the Lord. What I really like about this command is that it doesn't say for us to rest when we're broke down or when we're completely burnt out, but it commands us to rest one day a week, each and every week. And I have been observing the command to rest. I did 2 days because I was a little bit tired. And so for the past 2 days, I have turned my phone off and I've really been doing whatever I want to do and not been working. And I want y'all to know that I feel so rejuvenated and I feel so refreshed by the Lord. And so I want to encourage us to prioritize the command to rest because I believe that God prioritized the command to rest. If you check in Exodus chapter 20, right after we learn that we should keep God first is the command to rest. We learn the command to rest before we even learn about not killing people or not stealing, or even before we learn about how we should honor our mothers and our fathers. God commands us to rest before those things. And I think that maybe that's what ties everything together. Maybe resting is what ties together our ability to love God and our ability to treat our neighbors the way we're supposed to treat them. Yeah, that's neither here nor there though. That's not what this video is about. But I was just thinking about how God is very intentional in commanding us to rest before we even before we even get to all of the other parts. So maybe if we aren't burnt out and maybe if we actually take time to sit before the Lord and rest, we will be able to love people in a greater capacity. But again, that's neither here nor there. We're going to be talking about the command to rest today. So let's get into it. So according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the word rest is an intransitive verb, and they give a couple of definitions for it. One is to get rest by lying down, especially sleeping. Another is to cease from action or motion, or to refrain from labor or exertion. The third is to be free from anxiety or disturbance. And the fourth one is to sit or to lie fixed or be supported. And an intransitive verb is an action verb without a direct subject. So that means that there's no word in the sentence that tells us who or what received the action of the verb. And so that's a little bit of a grammar lesson, and I will not be getting into that because that is not my jam. But grammar lesson aside, I really like the fact that rest is in itself an intransitive verb or a verb at all. And that should be helpful for those of us who feel like it's difficult for us to sit down somewhere. To rest is to actually do something. It is doing something. It's refraining from labor. So that means saying no to some things. We can say no so that we can refrain from those things that feel like labor. It's being free from anxiety and worry. That means that we get rid of those things, or we put aside those things that are stressing us out or causing us to have some type of anxiety or disturbs our spirits. It means for us to sit, to lie fixed, or to be supported. And who is our ultimate support system? That is God. It's taking time to remember and realize that we are supported by God, and then actually sitting with and sitting in God. I just think that is so good. So one thing that God did reveal to me when it came to resting is that everybody's rest does not look the same. So a lot of times we might psych ourselves out by thinking that the only way we can rest is by laying down in the bed and just sitting completely still and staring off into space. And I can't I can't do that because I think that it can get very boring. And so I want to encourage you to think about different ways that rest might look like for different people. So for example, for me, my rest days included, eating, turning my phone off and not being on social media. Um, I watched my favorite TV shows. I was kind of doing whatever I wanted, but most importantly, I refrained from doing the things that I did not want to do. And do y'all know that God really spoke to me during my rest days, mainly during the transitions, but also sometimes when I was doing some things that people might consider mindless. But God spoke to me in ways that he had never spoken before. And so I want to encourage you to do what feels relaxing and restful to you during those times. So for example, my dad really likes being outside. He could literally work outside fixing things or fixing things around the house all day long. And I believe that God can speak to him during those moments where he's outside doing what he loves to do during his rest period, because those are not laborful times for him. That's what he enjoys doing. For my mom, she enjoys fellowshipping with her family. And so being in fellowship and being in community with others is also a great mindfulness activity. And I believe that God can speak to us during those moments as well. Maybe for you it's taking a long walk or listening to music, or maybe it really just is sleeping. Whatever it is, find what makes you feel rested. And I believe that God will talk to us no matter what we are doing, so long as we aren't consumed by busyness and we are intentional about resting and just finding time to replenish and to be in the presence of the Lord. And for those of us who don't want to take any time off, we don't want to rest because we believe that the world is just going to come crashing down if we take any time off, I really want to encourage us to think about whether we have put ourselves in the place of God. Your parishioners, the people that you work with, the people that you work for, should be able to make it without you for at least one day so that you can observe what you are commanded to do, and that is to rest. I believe that the entire point of ministry is for us to point people in the direction of God and to not get caught up in thinking that we're the only people who have access to God. That's just completely inaccurate. So when I say rest, for me, that also meant taking a break from ministry. When my phone was off, I knew that if people couldn't get in contact with me, hopefully they would find somebody else to talk to, or they would go to God for themselves, because sometimes ministry can be labor. So y'all, rest. Take a break from everything, and that can include some of the labor that comes from being involved with the church and being in ministry. So as I close, I want to leave with you all a quote that comes from a woman named Beth Cooper. And she says, "Rest isn't about being lazy or avoiding work. It's necessary for our health and for being at our best when we are working. Rest has been shown to improve cardiovascular health and lower blood pressure and cortisol levels. Vacation, in particular, has also been shown to reduce the risk of heart disease and increase lifespan." I think that quote is so good. It's not about being lazy or avoiding work, but it's about replenishing and being our best selves so that we can actually perform our jobs to the best of our ability. And I think that it's so amazing, and God is so intentional that God commands us to do something, and then later on down the road, scientists know that doing what God commanded is actually beneficial for our health. God's plan is always the best plan. And not only did God command us to rest, but he also modeled it by resting himself. So if God chose to rest on the seventh day, then what do you think you should be doing? You should be resting. So do it, okay? All right, that's all that I have for today, but I really want to encourage you all to rest. I am going to commit to actually taking a day of rest and maybe even some minutes of rest throughout the day if I can, because God commanded me to do it. And I know that resting is beneficial for my health. And I don't want to lose this feeling, this refreshed feeling that I have right now. So hopefully you all will join me. I look forward to hearing your thoughts about resting. And one thing I would like to get some tips on is how can resting look differently for people who have small children, who have large families, because I recognize there are some luxuries that I have because I'm single with no children that folks who have families might not have. So those tips will be appreciated as well, because the command is to rest, and there is no condition that you just be single to rest. Everyone is commanded to rest. So I really look forward to hearing you all's thoughts on this, and I will see you next week for a little TLC.